ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुक्तपदकमलं श्रीगुरु वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदां सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी kalparupyascha kripa sindhuvaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, welcome to this cold day. We'll warm ourselves up with the nectar of Lord Krishna's beautiful messages to all of us. So last week we discussed the 27th verse, and we said that everything that we see in existence, both animate and inanimate, is simply one of Krishna's energies. And so it brings to the very important conclusion. And when we say surrender to Krishna, we think that's difficult, no? It's hard. But in reality, every living entity is surrendered to Krishna. How so? Well, we are fully surrendered to the material world, the material nature. Every breath we take, we are surrendering to some nature to provide the oxygen for us to breathe. We are surrendered to the presence of sunlight. Without sunlight, do we have any existence? No. We are surrendered to the laws of gravity. If you want to be free from the laws of gravity, can you? So every day, we're surrendered to these forces. Whether it's the sunlight, the air we breathe, the laws of gravity. We're surrendered right now to this disease in so many different ways. But all of this is nothing but the energies of Krishna. So the question is not whether we are surrendered to the Supreme Lord or not. It's simply whether we are conscious of it or unconscious of it. And of course, when one is conscious of their surrender, one begins to dovetail their activities with the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Instead of, as Prabhupada always says, trying to lord it over material nature. So as soon as one tries to become the master of the material nature, then they are surrendered to Krishna, but indirectly, unconsciously, by trying to navigate this material world. So, and we know the result of such surrender is misery and frustration. But the surrender to Krishna and loving devotional service results in eternal bliss and happiness. So Krishna has explained that everything is but a combination of ultimately Krishna's energies, Para and Apara Shakti. So, but with knowledge, we'll see how to be more proactive in our surrender and ultimately surrendering and loving service to Krishna with full cognition of Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, our Supreme Maintainer, our loving Father, and from whom we come, being His part and parcel. And thus we find our eternal occupation is not playing video games or trying to hit a ball in a hole on a golf course or trying to, enjoy, some movie or some other thing. It all sounds pleasurable, but ultimately results in difficulties. Our real pleasure is experiencing and understanding our whole relationship with the Supreme. So that's what Krishna is going to continue now in this 28th verse. So let's read this 28th verse.
Samam sarvesu bhutesu tishtantam padmeswaram vinashayasta avinashayastam ya paschati sa praschati. One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed, actually sees.
Anyone who, by good association, can see three things combined together, the body, the proprietor of the body or the individual soul, and the friend of the individual soul, is actually knowledge. Unless one has the association of a real knower of spiritual subjects, one cannot see these three things. Those who do not have such association are ignorant. They simply see the body and they think that when the body is destroyed, everything is finished. But actually it is not so. After the destruction of the body, both the soul and the supersoul exist, and they go on eternally in many various moving and non-moving forms. The Sanskrit word Parameshvara is sometimes translated as the individual soul, because the soul is the master of the body, and after the destruction of the body, he transfers to another form. In that way, he is mastered. But there are others who interpret this Parameshvara to be the supersoul. In either case, both the supersoul and the individual soul continue. They are not destroyed. One who conceives in this way can actually see what is happening.
So, new topic we're learning today? We heard this topic all the way back from chapter. Which chapter did we first hear this knowledge? Huh? 2, right in the beginning. Right? As soon as Krishna began to speak, he began to speak on the distinction between the soul and the body. And he gave the indestructible nature of the soul and the destructible nature of the body. Right? So, here Krishna is saying, one who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies. So where is the super soul present?
Next to the soul, in every body.
In every body. Even the ant body?
Yeah.
Even the bird?
Yes.
What about the tree?
Yes.
The super soul is present in every living entity. Right? Is that anywhere else in the super soul is present?
Atoms?
Yes. In matter as well.
Matter, sure.
In every atom, the super soul is present. So Krishna is present everywhere. But because he is present everywhere, does that mean that he has lost his individual personal form in the spiritual world? Does it mean he's no longer grazing in the fields with the cowherd boys? Wait, but he's present everywhere here, so how can he be present there and here? Huh?
He can expand himself.
He can expand himself. So does he come 50% there, 50% here?
He's
Huh?
infinite.
He's infinite. He's the complete whole, regardless of how many complete wholes emanate from him. That's the 1 minus 1 equals 1. There is no depletion. Right? So Krishna is present here. So when we see or speak of Krishna being present everywhere, it does not indicate that he has lost anything, because he's always complete, and his complete situation is residing in his supreme eternal form, right? In this visual. Yes.
Is this Achinta Veda Veda?
Yeah, it's part of it.
Okay.
This is part of his achintya, inconceivable potency. Because we cannot conceive through our tiny brains, as Prabhupada would always say, very accurately, how one can be present everywhere, yet present somewhere else. Yet not split, equally potent. Right? So that's this inconceivable potency of the Lord. So the super soul is everywhere, and one needs to understand that the soul nor the super soul are destructible. It means they are eternal. What is the meaning of eternal?
Non-perishable by time?
Non-perishable by time. Yeah, what else?
No beginning, no end.
No beginning, no end. Okay? So it'll never deteriorate, it'll never perish. And we cannot trace out the origin or the beginning, they're always there. It's like in a figure eight, right? What's the beginning of the figure eight and where's the end? You know, it's perpetual, right? So, yeah.
Why do we say that there's no beginning? Because eventually we know we are emanated, we are a part and parcel of Krishna. So we can say the beginning of the soul is Krishna himself.
But when did it exist? Krishna's always existed. And so has
Fair
the
point.
individual soul. Because its beginning and end is only in the presence of time. And time is only present in the material world. Right? Now, but we can't conceive it. Well, no, we emanated from the Supreme Lord, so at some point we must have emerged. Don't try to wrap our brain around that. Because we can't. And that's what Krishna says. So, and that brings us to a very important point, which is these topics, these very sort of technical, analytical topics, right? Krishna is present in every atom. How do we know?
The physicists have done experiments of splitting the atom. There's so much energy that's released.
He says so.
It's speculation.
Okay, so that's one possibility.
He says so.
He says so. And who is he?
The Lord himself, Krishna.
And where does he say it?
Every scripture.
In Shastra. Right? So we have two options to go for our sources of knowledge. One is the Vedic Shastra. And what is the other option?
Experiment and
Huh?
mental speculation,
Mental
experiment, try to
speculation.
figure it out on your own.
Yeah, our own analysis. Right? Our own speculation. But we know our analysis of so many things has become is full of flaws. Why is it full of flaws?
Because of a limited thinking.
Our limited thinking. Well, first thing we know, we have 4 defects as humans. What are the 4 defects?
We make mistakes.
We make mistakes. Anybody is perfect, never made a mistake in their life?
No.
Scientists have never made mistakes? Huh?
They do.
Right, they do. Despite good attempts, honest, good attempts, the conclusions that they spoke of 100 years ago, are they valid today?
Maybe, maybe not.
Some are, and some are not. Right? So some of them are, and some of them are not. So all the conclusions that are known today, 100 years from now, which ones will be still true?
Relatively true.
We don't know. We don't know. Right? So we make mistakes. That's one of our defects. What are our other defects?
Is it speculation? Or
Not quite speculation, but
Always an illusion.
we tend to be illusion. What we see is not exactly always reality. We see water on the road on a sunny day. Is there water? It's an illusion. So our senses are imperfect, so they tend to be illusion. You want to do the other two? Cheating. Because we're imperfect, because we tend to make mistakes, because we are illusion, we tend to cover them up. And there's been so many evidences of that. What's that? So these defects are there, okay? And so it means that the knowledge about the constitution of this universe and whether the body is the end of all or not, whether the soul carries forward or not, all of that knowledge, we have to go to one of two sources, either our own speculation or the Supreme Lord. And so we know on our scientific knowledge, it's sometimes right and sometimes wrong. Right? Well, what about on our Vedic knowledge? What have we seen with the things that have been said thousands of years ago?
Absolute truth.
Today it's all true? What percentage?
Absolute 100%.
it's true, but in Kali Yuga, our limitations are present, so we can't say the Vedic mantras properly.
Yeah, but the statements of the statements of the Shastra are true, regardless of our ability to implement or not. The statements, not a single statement in all of Shastra has ever been proven wrong. And you might say, yeah, but they speak about things that aren't really studied. That's not true. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we see the development of the embryo in the womb of a mother, and how the baby develops in the womb of a mother. And what's spoken in 3rd Canto Srimad Bhagavatam is still being proven true with modern science today. The shape of the earth, something as simple as that. Up until 500 years ago, everybody thought the earth was
Flat.
but in our Shastra we know it's a globe, right? Bhugol. It's a sphere. Science is trying to measure the width and breadth of this universe. In Shastra it's given exactly the dimensions of this universe, the age of this universe, and in the future when it will be destroyed as well. So all this knowledge is there, and it's factual knowledge that has never been proven incorrect. So we have to make a determination where I'm going to place my actions, because we make decisions based on the knowledge we have. Right? If I open my phone and the weather says it's 78 degrees outside, what do I do with that information? I dress like this. But what if it's actually 12 degrees outside? I freeze. I freeze. So the consequences of bad information in that instance is relatively small. Right? Relatively small. If I've studied the magnitude of, the gravitational force, and then I enter an airplane, what's the magnitude of error if I'm wrong? Consequence pretty big?
Catastrophic.
It's pretty big, right? You die.
Yeah.
At least the body.
Body.
Right? So with knowledge we make so many decisions. And sometimes we make decisions that ultimately later prove to be incorrect or bad for us. We thought they were good for us. You know? And we see in modern medical science, right? In medicines, you know, certain treatments, initially they seem to be very good, but then we learn there are side effects. Unintended sometimes side effects. And so the intention was right. So the knowledge we acquire, it's important because we make decisions from that knowledge that then have consequences. So if we're going to make decisions about the destination of our life, how we're really going to find perfection of life, how are we going to get reliable knowledge?
To the spiritual master and the Shastras.
Through the spiritual master and Shastra. So Prabhupada says in the first 5 lines of the purport, how do we get knowledge? Or who can get knowledge? By good association. Then one can see things ultimately as they are. So it takes good association. But it's not just association. Because there's association available to everyone. But one must choose where to and whom to associate. Just like if I wanted to learn how to fly a plane, who do I associate with?
Not a doctor.
A pilot, not a doctor. Good answer. Someone who knows how to fly a plane. I associate with those individuals. Right? If I want to learn how to play tennis, who do I associate with? Tennis players. Right? So if I want to learn about how to achieve perfection of life, of eternal bliss and happiness, who do I associate with? A golf pro? Huh?
The knower of the knowledge.
The knower of the knowledge. And the knower and the practitioner. Right? One who knows and has applied it and has experienced the results. Right? Why is that last piece important for us? That has experienced the results.
So we know from his experience that yes, it is going to be true, rather than we experiment it ourselves.
We need to be convinced it's going to work. Right? If somebody says they know how to fly a plane, you still want to know, have they flown? Have they actually done it? Right? So, in association to acquire spiritual knowledge, one must be very careful to find this source of knowledge who has understood it. Because Prabhupada says, unless one has the association of a real knower of spiritual subjects, one cannot see these things. So it means it's the only way. Because our own speculation, our own analysis, it's impossible to understand the origin of the soul. We don't have the capacity to know that from our own analysis. Or to know the construct of even this universe. Heck, we don't even understand the construct of the earth and how it all works. Forget that. We don't even understand the full construct of our body. Forget that. We don't even understand the construct of a single cell. Every year, new and new identification of pieces of a cell, a single cell are coming out. So our knowledge, we know, is very limited. So this knowledge about the soul being indestructible, the presence of the super soul everywhere, the situation in the material world, situation in the spiritual world, the fact that we are eternal, part and parcel, this constitutional position, all of that must come from good association here. And what is good association?
Like-minded people.
So specifically in this context, what is good association?
Associate with the spiritual master, with the guru.
Associate with the spiritual master.
Real know spiritual support.
And what determines a bona fide spiritual master?
Through the parampara system.
Must be coming in Guru Parampara. So we can associate by reading Srila Prabhupada's books with Srila Prabhupada every day. One can associate and obtain this knowledge. We can associate with many of his disciples as spiritual masters who can guide us in the path of devotional service. To know this. Because the opening point I made is this topic new?
No.
But now the next question. Have we fully realized this topic?
Getting there.
Getting there. But have we fully realized it? Have we fully detached from the bodily conception of life?
No.
We're 13 chapters in. Why not? It's not so easy. So we need help. So when they say, I don't need a spiritual master to know that the soul is eternal, that the material world is constant, I can read that in Srimad Bhagavatam, I can read it in Bhagavad Gita. Yes. But by the mercy of Guru, the knowledge becomes realized. Because when it's realized, the conclusion of realizing the self is one is free of all material desires. That's the conclusion. So, until we have reached that point, we understand we still have not fully realized this knowledge. So it requires very, very good association to understand this very detailed knowledge. Okay? And do we have evidences of the power of association? We'll conclude with that. What are some good examples of the power of good association?
Srila Prabhupada. And all the devotees he made all over the world.
Yeah.
From all low points in life.
Don't even know where to start.
Srila Prabhupada, being an empowered, pure devotee of the Lord, brought, just with his presence, people were transformed. Right? Just like if I have a small matchstick, by associating with the things I can ignite fire. Right? But if I have a giant blowtorch or a matchstick, which has more potent association to create fire? So the purity of the devotee, the level of purity, can expand the potency of that association. So Srila Prabhupada's association was so powerful. People would just see him in a park doing kirtan and they would be fully captivated and would almost immediately surrender because of his potency. So Srila Prabhupada is a wonderful example. Any other examples of association? There's so many.
Parikshit Maharaj with the sages.
Parikshit Maharaj with Shukadeva Goswami. Right? He was very fortunate by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord to come into association with Shukadeva Goswami and achieve the perfection of life in his final 7 days. Very nice. Any other examples you think of? So many are there.
Narada's association
With who?
with Magari and Sarada.
Narada Muni with Magari the hunter. Just a few moments, and Margarita Hunter was delivered. How about Haridas Thakur? The prostitute came 3 consecutive nights, and she became a wonderful devotee just by association.
Just right where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's association with Balabhabata and how then he took initiation from Garuda Pandit.
Yes.
To purify it from his envious position.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave association to so many personalities, even non-human, in the Jharkhand forest. Right? So that's again the potency can transform the heart in very dynamic ways. So we have very strong evidence of the power and potency of association. So if we want to accelerate our progress in devotional service, what should we do?
Keep good association.
Maintain good association. That means constant, frequent association. Because as soon as we disassociate the cell phone from the charger, what happens to the phone?
It's forced to lose battery.
And eventually it will die. As soon as we separate from good association in spiritual life, what happens to our bhakti? It starts to dwindle. Right? So association should be constant, regular, and of high quality. And so Rupa Goswami gives in the Nectar of Instruction also how to associate with devotees. Exchanging, revealing one's mind in confidence, things like this. So he gives some principles, but the point is we should actively associate. And the meaning of association means to take inspiration from. Not just to be in physical proximity, but to draw inspiration from. To become inspired by. That is association. Because that is our hope to transform the heart. Otherwise we can be in the physical presence, but the heart may not transform. We must seek to be inspired by. Any other examples of good, powerful power of association? Yeah.
I remember Bhakti Vikas Maharaji, there was a message of his autobiography where on YouTube where he said he was with Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada looked at him and he saw, and just by that look he was inspired to become a guru in ISKCON.
That's the power. It just takes a moment's association. Right? A moment's association we see in Chaitanya Charitamrita is is incalculable. Sadhu Sangha. Just a little bit. How much? A lava matra. Just a fraction of a second has so much potency. Any other questions or comments for Vivek?
Dhruva Maharaj's association.
Huh?
Dhruva Maharaj's association.
Dhruva Maharaj had the association of Narada Muni. Even though his goal was actually to achieve something else, by good association, he became purified. And ultimately he had association of Vishnu himself. Yeah?
Mataji said Jagai Madai.
Jagai Madai. Wow, how wonderful. Lord Nityananda's appearance day is coming up. By the association of Lord Nityananda, Jagai and Madai became staunch devotees.
The association, it can also be of thoughts, feelings, in the more subtle form as well, in terms of reading from the Shastra.
No, reading from Shastra is direct association. Reading Srila Prabhupada's purports is associating directly with Srila Prabhupada. Of course, meditating, remembering, Krishna and his names and forms and qualities and pastimes and paraphernalia, that is to associate with Krishna, because he is non-different. Remembering the pastimes of his pure devotees, it's all associated with it. But in our state of development of our consciousness, we need also very personal, live, potent association. And that's why Srila Prabhupada established these temples, like the Sunday feast program. It was a means to bring devotees together and newcomers together for good, potent association. So this association, we've been limited due to this COVID pandemic. But as it lifts, hopefully we'll not lose sight, having experienced the thirst of being separated from the association. Then when it becomes again plentiful, we remember to take advantage of it. So in the interim, there's different means to associate through digital means and whatnot. But we should understand it's still not the same. It's not the same. So if we let digital supplant tangible, we'll just thwart our progress ultimately. Not the same. But it's also very beneficial and practical when things are in a challenging situation. So it's not that we should avoid that, but we should understand the potency of different types of association. So when one is not possible, then we go to option B. Option B is not possible. Option C. Nice thing is we have many options for association.
The few verses in chapter 12 come to mind in terms of rendering devotional service.
Yeah. Very good. Anything else? Okay, so let us chant. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.